Hello. How are you all today? I'm doing quite well. It's just beautiful here. If you saw on Facebook, I posted some pictures of my front yard yesterday. I have a lot of lavenders and they're just gorgeous. The bees are very happy. The butterflies are very happy. So it's Wednesday and this is another live stream, Suzanne off the cuff. If you happen to catch it while it's live, you can talk over onto the right side there. You can get involved with the chat. In the chat, you can talk with each other, and you can also ask me questions that I will answer during the live stream. If you do decide to ask a question, please put the word question in all caps right at the beginning, and that makes it easier for me to see when I go to look for them. If you happen to catch this after the live stream is over and completed, it's still available in my YouTube videos, and you can still ask questions. All you have to do is post your question, and I look at them once a day, and I will answer you. So welcome to everybody. Yay! Another happy day. Let's see who's on here. We have Emily Beaton, Elaine Homestead, Lisa Quilts a Lot, Anne Tremoliers. She's in Vézelay, France. I'll have to look that up and see where you live, Anne. Kelly, my cat, Fatima Dehan from Holland, and Nano and Katharina Continental Combined. Hello, nice to meet you from Berlin. Wheezy, Vicky Crabtree, Sandra Morin. Hello, Sandra. Francoise Monroe. Hello. And it's a rainy day there. It's just beautiful here. It's so sunny and pretty. And Miss Nook Chili from Chile. She says it's a beautiful day there. Carlotta, Amber, Shiwi from Germany. Bonnie. Whoops, we jumped up. Bonnie Davis. Margit from Germany. Sylvia Earl. Lizanne, David Hensley, Amber, I said Amber, Lil Mimi, Lisa Dunn, Mary Inman, Pat Gordon, Tanya Onwardy, Celeste Garcia, Sandra Pinkerton, Daniel Plett. Hello, everybody. Lots more. Be sure to give me thumbs up. So here I am. I'm in process on my sweater. So I just got to the point where I put the pocket stitches on hold here on either side. So I have them on a cable on either side, and I've worked maybe 3/4 of an inch below that and started my lower waist increases. So far, I'm really liking it. The further that I get along on it, the more I like it. It's interesting. I had to really think about the pocket construction when you're doing it with the steek. So that's all written up, and it's in the instructions that are going to be coming out this Friday. It's all set and ready to go. Francois has already done the French translation. Then next week, I'll include the ribbing and a lot of different ideas for working with ribbing. Because when you have a sweater like this, where you don't have necessarily an all-over stitch design, color work or stitch pattern, on the ribbing, you can add some oomph to your sweater, or you can make it plain, either way. But it's kind of a fun area to work with. A lot of times in sweater designs, it's kind of overlooked. I love to use the ribbing area as a design element. So I'll give you lots of examples and pictures and directions for making a variety of ribbings on your sweater. So I love it. Last time I told you I was thinking about when I got down to about here, it just was not looking good. But I think it was because I just had this and I couldn't see what was coming down. Now you can see this is hand-dyed yarn, and you can see the pooling, which I think is very pretty, but I am working 2 skeins at the same time, but you'll still get pooling. That doesn't avoid pooling. What it does avoid is having a shift from one skein to the other mid fabric. That you do not want. I like the pooling of this. In fact, I'm going to get this great big huge thing right here. Can you see it? It's going to be really pretty. And I'm not trying to get rid of pooling. What I just don't want to see is where I worked with one skein and then started a second skein and there's a sudden change in the overall look of the fabric. So I start right out with alternating skeins when it's hand-dyed yarn. In this particular project, I didn't start alternating till I got down to about here, because this part doesn't really matter, because there's this dividing this from this. This is in the middle. Can you see that? So I can start my second skein down in here. So for the last inch or so of this part, I actually had 3 skeins going. I had the 2 yellows for alternating and the 1 red for the stranded. That was kind of, you know, it can get fiddly. But as soon as I got to the end of the red, I could break that off, and and where I'm changing the skeins is right smack in the middle. And you cannot see it. You cannot see it. I have a video on how to do that, how to this line is the edge of my steek. So I have my 2 markers here. This is where my steek is going to be, even though it's plain stockinette. That's where my steek's going to be when I cut this down the center. So we have some really good questions over on Ravelry this week that I'm going to be addressing, and I have some books to share in relationship to the question. So let's go over and do that now. Let's see. So this is from Sweet Jane. She says, Suzanne, what is your opinion about wool sweater shavers? I found one at the craft store the other day. The yarn I'm using has a small amount of cashmere in it, 10%, and it is very slightly pilling. How about using the shaver on an as-needed basis to prevent pilling? Thanks before I go and buy one. First of all, I've never used one, so I can't compare them. I have no idea. But I don't think a shaver prevents pilling. It just removes pilling once you have it. Pilling doesn't bother me a whole lot on my sweaters. The place that you get it most likely is where your sleeve rubs up against the body. If you happen to wear a shoulder strap purse, you'll get pilling in that area too. I don't. When I'm wearing a hand knit sweater, I do not put my shoulder strap over the shoulder because I don't want it to rub on my sweater. Also, another thing to be careful with is seat belts in your car, because they come right across your sweater. Some people put those fleece things on their seat belt to make that fleece will cause pilling on your sweater. And if you're using non-superwash wool, it can actually cause felting because it's fleece on fleece type action. So I try to be careful to not create pills. They are unavoidable in some yarns, and they can happen with cashmere or without cashmere. Any yarn other than acrylic probably pills too, but it's just part of yarn and working with bigger stitches on your fine garments that you buy from the store that have super, super small stitches. They pill too. It's just that the pilling is so much smaller. It's hard to see. It kind of makes a halo on your fabric. So you can check that out. So I can't really answer your question, but some of you might want to make some comments about that, which is okay. Also, I wanted to say that my bangs are I wanted to say that I appreciate people posting links to other information. I like to see that. It is harder to find it afterwards in the chat, although you can do that. Once this live stream is over and it goes to be a regular video in my video list, then you can go back and add your links again if you wouldn't mind doing that for everyone else. That benefits everybody. So you would just be making a comment on the video once it's completed on the live stream, once it becomes a video in the library, and post your link there. And that way, everybody that looks at it in the future can see that link. And I would appreciate that greatly. It would be very wonderful for everybody. That being said, that's the end of that question. Okay, the next question is Susan Maloney. She says, do you have a resource recommendation for short sleeves? Well, I went through a bunch of my books and looked up short sleeves in each one of them. And so we're going to go do that right now. And I'll compare these books, okay? This is Knitwear Design Workshop by Shirley Paden. And on page 203, she addresses short sleeves. And she shows a diagram of measuring from the sleeve cap down and the circumference. And this is what she has to say. She says a short sleeve is worked just like any other sleeve, but with a shorter length between the cuff and armhole. For a true cap sleeve, the upper arm is worked for just 1 inch before beginning the cap. The key measurements are the upper arm width or circumference. I think she's talking about the upper arm width of the sleeve cap knitted flat, but of course it would be your upper arm circumference if you wanted to make a cap sleeve, etc. And that's about all she says. She doesn't talk about other sleeve lengths. She just talks about the cap sleeve. Okay, so that's in Shirley Paden's Knitwear Design Workshop, a comprehensive guide to hand knits. That's number 1. And I put these in order of helpfulness. The second one is Designing Knitwear by Deborah Newton. And she has a page on different types of sleeves, like a set-in sleeve, drop shoulder sleeve, dolman sleeve, but she doesn't talk anywhere in here that I could easily find about sleeve length or directions that you would, dimensions. She talks about the cap shape and whether it's gathered or not, but she doesn't ever talk about adjusting sleeve length. So there's not anything helpful in there. The next one is Amy Herzog's Ultimate Sweater Book. And on page 117, she starts talking about different sleeve lengths. And she shows a picture of herself here, and she has these areas marked about, whether it's the a short sleeve, elbow length, 3/4, or long sleeve. And so she tells you where to measure. And she says, whatever length category you choose, the off the needles length of your sleeve should match your body. And then she talks about different sleeve shapes. And that's it. She doesn't actually talk about figuring out the length. She shows you where they fall on your body, but not about how to figure out how to do it or where to measure. The next book is Sweater Design in Plain English by Maggie Righetti. And on page 349, she says, designing your own sleeves. And she talks about the different sleeve styles, like she has a knit in one-piece sleeve cap, knit in one-piece extension of a raglan, and then adding a sleeve cap. And that's about all she has to say. Then she goes into long sleeves. The next book is Knitting Pattern Essentials by Sally Melville. In this book, I found the best information. She shows the different lengths of the sleeve here. I can't see it very well, but it's there. And then she says, measurements you need. That's what we've been looking for. When you work shorter than full-length sleeves, your sleeve length changes. So does the length of your sleeve to the armhole, plus perhaps your lower sleeve width. That's what we want to find out, right? For the lower sleeve width of a full-length sleeve, I advise wrapping a cast-on edge around your fist. Now I say, remember you've seen me do this before. You take your sweater, like I don't think about the sleeves till I've done my ribbing down here. Then I think about the sleeves. So I would take a portion of my ribbing once it's done. Let's pretend like this is my ribbing. And I put it around my wrist to see how many stitches fit comfortably around my wrist. She says to do it around your fist. It's close, but my wrists are pretty skinny. But I've never had a problem. It's about the same, my fist and my wrist. So she says to measure your fabric on your sweater from the bottom of your fabric, your ribbing, around your wrist. So let's say you wanted to do a 3/4 length sweater. You would put your ribbing from the bottom of your sweater around the 3/4 mark, wherever you want it to be on your arm. It's your arm and your sweater. Then for elbow length, you can have it, here's my elbow, you can have it directly below the elbow or right above the elbow, but you don't necessarily want it right on your elbow. And then short sleeve can be wherever you want it, and up to cap sleeve. This is the shortest that this could be is right here if you put a trim on it right here. That's the shortest that this sleeve could be. But it would be cute that short. It would be really cute. I would just, put my edging on there, put my ribbing on here, and finish it off. So I hope that answers a little bit about the sleeve length, okay? You would measure from the back neck up here, just like we did before, down to where you want your sleeve length to be. And then you subtract the distance for the neck from that length. So then you know that the sleeve's going to start here. So you would take your neck width from here to here, divide it in half, subtract that from the top measurement of your sleeve length, and then you know how long the sleeve length is going to be from here down. And we will be coming back later and putting this on a needle and knitting it this way. So then you know how long to knit it. Of course, you've got to leave some room for whatever type of edging you're going to be adding before you finish the sleeve off. I hope that answers that. And I was thinking that way of going through the books is kind of cool because I can show you, and I looked in other books too, besides that, but I didn't find any specific measurement. Other than Elizabeth Zimmerman in the Knitting Workshop, she says, knit the sleeve as long as you want it. Okay, so we knew she was going to say that because that's how she talks. And that's how I knit. I knit as long as I want. Oh, I wanted to say one thing about Sally Melville. I really like this. And I had not read this section before, but it's very interesting. She says to use the ribbing, to check for your, and she says, so if you want a 3/4 length sleeve, this will still be appropriate for the start of your sleeve because there's usually a little difference between the circumference of your fist and your arm at 3/4. If you want a shorter sleeve, wrap the cast on edge around your arm where you want the sleeve to start with the degree of tightness you want. This will be the fewest stitches to cast on if you were doing a bottom up sleeve for your lower sleeve width or cuff. So that's the same thing that was what I've said before, is using the bottom of your sweater to put around your wherever it is you want your sleeve to end, and that's going to be your number of stitches that you're going to want for that area. Okay, that was a great question, Susan Marie. Fiddlebead says, Suzanne, can you tell the difference between an SSK done by slipping both stitches as if to knit versus slipping the first as if to knit and the second as if to purl? Yes, I can. I can see it across the room. And no, you cannot do that in the Master Hand Knitting program. You will have to repeat that swatch. They want you to work, they say right in there that they want you to work the SSK in the traditional method, and slipping both stitches as if to knit is the traditional method, unless they've changed their directions. And I haven't read the most current directions. I don't even know if they've changed them. I haven't looked at them for over a year. So they usually change them every few years, but I doubt that they'll ever change that direction, okay? Fiddlebeads has another question. She says, Suzanne, do you ever seam using just one half a stitch as recommended by Maggie Righetti, or do you always seam using the full selvage stitch? What do you consider the advantages, disadvantages of each method? Thanks, Emily. If you use a half a stitch on either side, yes, you do get a less bulky seam. If you have beautiful edge stitches, that will work well for you. The majority of people that I know do not have beautiful edge or selvage stitches. That stitch does not represent a normal stitch in your knitting because one leg's just hanging there. One leg is attached to the work over here. The other leg's just hanging there, and it really doesn't give you a full stitch look. And sometimes that causes a distortion in your knitting at the very edge. So if you seam with a half stitch using this leg, the flat leg, on either side of the seam, then you may have wonky looking stitches right up your seam. And believe me, it will stand out like a neon light. Now, that's why many people seam by going in a full stitch on each side of the fabric, because then the wonky edge stitches are to the back. And it doesn't leave a thickness there that's horrible. I don't have any problem unless you're working with really bulky yarn. And I don't do that very often, so I can't address that. I usually work with fingering weight or lighter. The worsted weight is about as heavy as I get for knitting a sweater. And I haven't had any problems with seaming in worsted weight using a full stitch at each edge. Now, my edge stitches are really, really nice, and I still use a full stitch. I just think it looks more, it's more secure. And when you pull the fabric this way, you can't see where the seam is. It just looks like a continuation of the fabric. Okay, so those are all the Ravelry questions. Let me close that off so I don't have to look at it anymore. And now I'm back here. So let me go up to the top here and see if anybody has a question for today, okay? Let me see. Remember, put question in big letters. It's so fun to see everyone. Don't forget thumbs up. We have 100 people on here right at this moment. My last live stream, I had the most people at one time of any live stream so far. So my audience is growing, which is good. That makes me feel good. If it keeps getting smaller, it's kind of discouraging, but I think we're doing good. Be sure to share my live streams too. You can share them while they're live. There's that little share arrow thing that you can look at and just hit that. You can share it while it's live if you want, or you can share it afterwards. Claudia Cano, I know I asked you this before. Clayton, California. Where is Clayton, California in relationship to where I live in Bakersfield, California? I wonder if we live anywhere near each other. Okay, Bonnie Davis has a question. I seem to recall you said something about bringing the design down the front on either side of the steek. Did you change your mind? Yes, I changed my mind. I tried it for about this far and I just didn't like it. So I ripped back. I ripped back like 2 inches. That's when I ripped back the other day. I ripped back quite a bit and deleted that part of the element. I think that when I do my button band down the front, I'm going to use corrugated ribbing in the red and the yellow, and I think that'll be enough of a design element going down the front. I'm still thinking about, I don't know if I will do something on my pockets or not. I'm not really sure, but I don't have to decide that yet. This is another thing about knitting your own sweater. You can change your mind anytime you want. It's your sweater. I give you permission to do that. Okay. Champ Smith says she doesn't know about others, but she's having problems with the video stopping. Is anybody else having that problem? I hope not. Let me know if you do. Comment, re-sweater shavers. I don't agree with using them because once you start, you just may end up thinning out the yarn strands, eventually weakening the integrity of their garment. Yeah, I'm thinking that too. I've never used one, but I never felt like the pills don't bother me that much. Dolise says, hello, I've been here. I just forgot to say hello. Hello, Dolise. Dolise is my main manager of the Ravelry group along with Demetria and several other people, but they do a fantastic job over there. And I want to say thank all of the volunteers that help me, the people on here who manage this and kick off the scammers, and Francoise who helps me, Anne Tremolius who helps with the translations for the videos. You all are, I appreciate every single one of you so much. Diana Danko for doing the timestamps. I could not do this without you. I would be spending my whole life at the computer and I would never get to knit. Sandra Pinkerton, question for sleeve. The Little Red in the big city has some alterations for short sleeves, like making a puff sleeve. Yes, all of the books that I just showed talked about puff sleeves. So here's Little Red in the city. And let's see what she has to say about sleeve lengths. That's what I was looking for, was sleeve lengths, altering the length. Let's see what she says about sleeve lengths. Might be under creating a perfect fit, 42. She does show about measuring your upper arm hair. I don't see anything in particular about sleeve length. Okay, but she does have about puff sleeves. All the other books I showed had about puff sleeves too. So I don't know that we're going to want puff sleeves in this sweater, but we could. Claudio Bueno. Question. I added stitches from stockinette colorwork. Now I am going to the corrugated rib, another round of stitch adding. Am I right thinking? Okay, Claudia, he says, I added stitches from stockinette colorwork, and now I'm going to the corrugated rib, another round of stitch adding. You would have to do a swatch of your corrugated ribbing and see how much it pulls in compared to your regular knitting. And yes, you may have to. Now, I don't usually change from my stockinette to corrugated ribbing, but I haven't had a big stitch equivalency problem with my corrugated ribbing versus the stockinette. But make a little swatch, Claudio, and check it out before you proceed. That's the best thing to do. And if your sweater's in the round, you need to swatch in the round. Eric Joseph, good evening from Belgium. Hello. Nature Crafts question just jumped up. What is your favorite type of project to knit? Sweaters. I'm a sweater knitter. I don't mind knitting shawls. I just never wear them. I like knitting them sometimes because you get to explore all different types of stitch patterns and lace and different things, textures, which is really fun. But always when I'm knitting a shawl, I'm thinking, wow, how could I incorporate this into a sweater? Now, I've knit a lot of sweaters, and you would think I would get tired of it, but I don't. Each one becomes my favorite. And like once a year, I have my daughter and my daughter-in-law come over, and I let them go through my sweaters and pick what they want so that I can have room to knit some new ones. I have a lot of sweaters, but that's my favorite. And all types of sweaters, every conceivable shape and design, bottom up, top down, side to side. I like them all. David Hensley, question, where is the beautiful park in the picture you had on before the show started? That's my front yard, believe it or not. I have a large front yard, and I used to have a big lawn out there, but where we live, we are having drought. This year we're not, but we've for the last 20 years, we've been having a drought. So we've had like one wet year, and people say, oh, the drought's over. Well, it's going to take more than one wet year to end a drought here. But so I took my front lawn out completely to reduce my water usage. And I put in islands of water drought tolerant plants, which lavender does pretty well here. Doesn't require as much. I have a lot of lavenders. And then roses, the roses have just started blooming. Once they come in full bloom, I'll take some more pictures of those. And then those red bud trees. But it's so pretty. I'm looking out my window right now. I can see the whole thing. It's just gorgeous. Okay. So Clayton's in the Bay Area by Concord. Oh, okay. Now I know where you are. Thanks. East of San Francisco. Yeah. Okay, so over by Oakland and Berkeley, or is it north of there? Anne Tremillier's question, for the horizontal cable I want to knit just under bust, I've brought and read Viking Patterns Lavold. Great book. Have you other advices to help me to do this cable? I like that one too. Elsebeth Lavold's Viking. I have that here. Well, I'm not seeing it so fast, but it's right down here. That's the best book for the Celtic knots, and she has the best information about starting and stopping cables mid-fabric. And so that's a good source. You can also just Google Celtic cable charts or Celtic cable knitting charts, and then go to the images, and you'll see some there too. Yeah, I agree. That's the best book. Let me see. I'll think about it. If I come up with another one, I'll tell you. Emily Beaton says she's not having any problems with the video stopping. Okay, thank goodness. Oh, but Mary Inman says, yes, the video was stopping. I closed and reopened it, and now it's fine. Okay. And Kate Wilson says she's having trouble with the video. I had a problem, had to close out Safari and go back in. I'm sorry. Okay. Leslie Dunn says, I don't know how, but my husband pills sweaters all the time. I've used a shaver, but very sparingly. Think about, does he wear his sweater under something else? If he wears it under something else, like a coat or a jacket, look at the inside of the coat and jacket and see if there's some way that it's causing friction on his sweater. That might be what's causing the pilling. Okay, Sandra Pinkerton says, comment, it's in the Kriya sweater pattern. I used it. And which one has the Kriya sweater pattern? Which one are we talking about? Which book? Kriya sweater pattern. Kriya, it's in here, 158. Here. Construction and fitting notes. Well, this is where she's going to talk about the sweater, the sleeve length. Okay, I see. Let me find it. Shoulder and yoke setup numbers. Yoke setup. Yoke numbers. Sleeve. Short sleeves. Sleeve numbers. It's just written out like a pattern, though. It's not, let's see if she's giving advice about, nope. Oh, here she shows a short sleeve in it. Design story. Here she's got a short sleeve here versus the long sleeve. And let's see what she has to say about that. That's all she has to say about it. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions here. Okay. Emily Beaton, The Knitter's Guide to Sweater Design by Mickelson and Davis says for short sleeves, the yoke style determines the sleeve cap. Yes, because this is it right here. So this is the shortest that you could go. But you could go any length past this all the way down to here. So you've got all this area to determine where do you want your sleeve to stop. I kind of like 3/4 length sleeves for pullovers, but for cardigans, I like full length sleeves. Let's see, The Knitter's Guide to Sweater Design. Let's see if I have that one. I don't think I have that one. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, Celeste Garcia comment. There is an interview with Jennifer Steingass, yoke sweater designer, on the most recent Fruity Knitting podcast. She says some interesting things about yoke sweater design. I saw somebody else posted that, but I haven't looked to see what she had to say about it. Amanda Swanson questioned, would there be any disadvantage to doing one of the fancy ribbings from the Japanese stitch Bibles around the neck of a yoke sweater? I think I want to do a twisted stitch pattern. Those would be gorgeous. You're talking about the Japanese stitch Bibles right here, this book. At the end, she has a lot of ribbings. She has pictures of different ribbings that you can use. This is a great book. She took a lot of time in doing this. Let me find the pictures. I'm looking at the charts. Here's a bunch of different ribbings. These are ruffles. Here's some ribbings. More. And you can create your own from any of her designs. All she has done here is taken some elements from the bigger designs and repeated them. These are gorgeous. I love them all. Makes you want to knit a sweater just to use one of these. These would be beautiful on the cuff, around the bottom, around the neck, the button band. And that's the last of them. And this is what I do when I'm in between projects and I'm trying to think of what I want to do. I will pull out one or a stack of my stitch dictionaries, and I just start thumbing through them. And pretty soon I start formulating an idea of what I want to do and where I want to apply these different little patterns. That's how I got this one. And I already had in my mind kind of how I wanted my sweater to be because I've been thinking about it for several months. Okay, Dolise Beeman, regarding pill removal, I use the Lily Save Our Sweater brush. It only grabs the pills and doesn't destroy the knit stitches. It's fantastic, very gentle on sweater. Amazon still has it. And then B. Dimmel says, hi, hello. And Sin 1217 made it, hi, hello. Okay. So Dolise posted a link to it there. And then Leslie says, I really need to get that book. I don't know why I keep putting it off. Is that the Japanese Stitch Bible? You would not regret it. This is one of my favorite stitch dictionaries currently. It's beautiful. Okay, are there any more questions? We may have a short day today. I don't have anything else to talk about. It'll give me some time to knit. Oh, did you see my video over on the other channel on binding off in pattern for ribbing? That was a pretty good one. And for Demetria, look what I have here. I have my zippers. And I actually have my swatches almost finished. Here's one of the zippers. I'm making two swatches. One on how to machine apply a zipper. Little short zippers, and one on how to hand install a zipper by hand, install a zipper by machine. And I got some cute little ribbon for covering up the back as a little cute little touch to do with it. You'll like that. So I just have to finish knitting my little swatches. I knit the fabric portions yesterday and they're blocked last night. So today I'm adding the edging. One of them is going to be knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. And the other one is going to be a combination of kind of a welts going down the front. So I can use one for the machine and one for hand installing the zipper. I think you'll like those too. Be sure to share my videos. Now, today, I may hit 1,100 subscribers on my new channel here. So that's a milestone. I'm very excited about that. And I've actually started earning income. I've earned about $3 so far on all of these videos on my new channel. So that is awesome. I know $3 doesn't sound like much, but in time it will grow. So let's see if there's any more questions. Amanda says she used the Japanese Bible for her ITAG cardigan and she loved it. Yes, and hers is just beautiful. And Sally Ix says, good afternoon. It looks like I need to add some books to my knitting library. Amazon, here I come. Yep. Sorry about that. Okay, so Celeste Garcia, she is stuck about figuring out the short rows for the back. That's also an upcoming video. That's the one directly after the zipper video. And I've been promising Demetria the zipper video for like 2 months. So she's getting it first. And then Celeste, I'm going to do the one on the how to do the short row shaping on the back neck. So I have to knit a little sample for that, you know. And then I'll be doing that. That's my very next one. Anu Ball, according to Ann Budd's book, I am size 38, but I am following size 42 to accommodate ease, but my yoke seems a bit large. What should I do to make it right? Now, Anna, you can see how this looks on me. And when I just put the yoke by itself on me, it felt really, really large. But I kept checking my numbers. My stitch gauge was right on. I was knitting to the size that I wanted, and I had to just keep going. And once I got down and I got the sleeves separated off and I started getting into the body, then it's starting to fit. I also compared it to other sweaters that I've knit as far as how wide it was and big around. It seemed like it was okay, but really I was terribly fearful that it was going to be way too big. Now that doesn't mean that yours isn't way too big. It might be, but I would continue working on it until you get down to about the body, and when you can try it on again with the body separated off and see how it looks, okay? Double check your stitch gauge. That's the most important thing. I'm constantly checking my gauge as I go along in my work, because as you knit, you can relax, and if you get off by half a stitch, so let's say you want to knit something that is a 40-inch circumference. If you're off by half a stitch in your gauge from what you calculated, that's going to be 20 stitches, right? And if you're getting 5 stitches to the inch, that's 4 inches off. 4 inches. So a half a stitch difference in 1 inch can make a huge difference in the size of your garment. So you need to constantly be double checking your gauge as you go. Okay. I hope it's all working out for you, Anu. I hope that you don't have to have a big swatch. David Hensley, question: have you used square needles? The DPNs by Collage Yarns are my favorite for socks. I tried them one time and they were okay. They didn't become my favorites, but that's personal preference. That's personal preference. I have tried them. I think I've tried every needle under the sun. Emily Beaton, question: what is the zipper website you use to get them the previous size you want? I'll post that. Diana Danko, when she reviews this, she'll put that in the timestamps, and I'll post the website to it. You can Google just custom zipper links, and I think it's the first one at the top is the one. Let me look at real quick. Let me do that. I'll tell you. I'm not going to custom. It's the one that's in Norwalk, Connecticut. So when you Google it and it comes up, it'll say Norwalk, Connecticut. And I want to show you something interesting. You know, there's this is off topic, but sort of there's another lady who does videos, and her videos are very, very good on YouTube. Her name is Cheryl Brunette. And she likes to knit sweaters too. She's a sweater knitter, and her videos are always very, very good. If you ever want to look at them, I highly recommend them. This is her book, Sweater 101. And this is also a really, really good book. Now, it didn't have any information on sleeve links, so I didn't drag it out. And my book is very unusual because when you open it up, everything is upside down and backwards. So I have to look at it like this. This is the beginning of the book here. Sweater 111. How to plan sweaters that fit. This is an awesome book. Awesome book. But she didn't have anything specifically about sleeve links, so I didn't pull it out. Okay. Leslie Dunn, question: will you show how to do short rows after the fact as well? Yes, I can show before and after. Good question. Connie Camp, question: off the subject, do people still use Cat Bordy's wedge to knit socks? Do you have other sock patterns besides Starry Night? I have a bunch of sock patterns. Go over to my Ravelry group, go over to Ravelry and look up Suzanne Bryan, and you'll see my designs. Now, I'm not a designer. I'm an educator, and I create my designs for education purposes. So sometimes my designs are gorgeous. They just come out that way. I'm totally lucky, but I'm not an artist. I'm an executionist, not an executioner, an executionist. I like the execution of the knitting, and I like the architecture and the engineering part, but I'm not an artist. It's like I know how to play the piano, but I'm not a pianist, you know, but I am a good knitter. So look at my designs. They're all based upon, like I have some socks specifically for teaching short row techniques. I have a lot of different things over there. You can go and see. Okay. Connie Camp, that's about this. And I have tried Cat Bordy's wedge. it doesn't work particularly well for me. I have really high arches. And one of these times I'll get some of my friends over here and we'll discuss arches. So I can show you a high arch versus a medium arch versus a low arch and how to tell the difference, what you have on your foot. Okay? I'm not going to do it today because I can't guarantee that the bottom of my feet are clean because I've been walking around my house barefooted. But my floors are clean, but still, I'm not going to drag my foot up here right now. Okay. That's Kat Bordy. And I love Kat Bordy. She is a genius, genius. Francoise, question, what is the brand of the lovely blue yarn that you use for your video swatches? I love it. My friend Ron hand dyes that for me. And I have him do those pastel. I like the light green, the light blue, because they show up well on camera. Better than the white. I used white for a long time, but it tends to glare a little bit. And the blue and the green still gets a little bit of a glare. The blue doesn't seem to glare very much. So I tried to just pick colors that are photogenic in my videos. Sea Hill, hi Suzanne, it's Cheryl from Chicago. I've been watching the live streams and really enjoying them. They're my break time in between working on level 1 of master hand knitting. Yay for you. Andrew Mullier's question, what is the tool you use to check the gauge during knitting? You showed us once and I can't find it. It's by Ann Budd, and I don't have one in here at the moment. It's, let me look in the bottom of my bag. Maybe it fell down here. No, I'll get it out next time, but it's by Ann Budd. Let me look it up. I can go over here and Google it and tell you the name. Ann Budd knitting gauge ruler. It's called Ann Budd Knits Handy Gauge Ruler, and it's like $5 or something. So it's pretty cool. I like it. Okay. Pat Gordon, question, what is the best neckline for sloping narrow shoulders? That's a tough decision. I'll tell you what my friend Vera says, and she'll be on here at the end of April, a live interview. She's a knitwear designer. She says that if you get the shoulders to fit, and see how my design starts right here at the tips of my shoulders, and I'm not very broad across the back here. I'm tall, but lanky, I guess. She says if you get this part of your sweater to fit, no matter what your shape is, the rest will look really, really good. Okay, and you can adjust this with bust shaping down here if you need to, but the most important part is getting this part of the sweater right. Okay, and also go to the store, try things on, look in the mirror and see how you look, see what you like. And then lay them down on the floor, take a picture with your phone, take a tape measure it, take some pictures with your phone. Then when you get home, you can draw a little drawing of it and make a schematic for yourself. Okay. Miss Nook Chili, speaking of books, I ordered the Essential Guide to Color Knitting Techniques that you recommended. It came yesterday, and it seems I learn something new every time I open it. Yes, that's a wonderful book. That's this one right here by Margaret Radcliffe. That's a very, very good book. One of the best on color knitting, maybe the best as an overview. Nina Kellen, question, I had to pause. Was there any further discussion of sweater shavers? How did this come up? I like the gleaner. Suzanne, do you feel these wear out the sweater? How to deal with pills? As I said, I don't use them on my sweaters, so I can't give you any advice about that. The pills don't bother me a whole lot, so I just ignore them. But then I do try to avoid creating pills to begin with by not wearing things next to my sweater that's going to rub on it. I talked about having your purse strap over your shoulder. That will create pills where the purse strap is. Or rubbing your arm back and forth in the armpit area. You'll get them. It's unavoidable to get them there. Seat belts in your car that come across you. They tend to pill your sweater. Things like that. Or wearing a sweater over a sweater might cause pilling. Okay. Celeste Garcia says she loves Cheryl Brunette. Yes. Annual Ball question: when are you going to make a tutorial video about different types of bust and waist shaping? That's on my list, and so it may come up in a week or so because I want to knit too. I love making the videos, but I also like knitting and writing up all the stuff that I write up. So I kind of, balance it out for myself. But it will come up. It will come up. Sea Hill question: can you briefly discuss armhole depth if I have to go up to the sizes in the third schematic? For example, my chest size is 48 and I would like to add 4 inches of ease, giving me 52 finished size. I would measure. That's a really, really good question. It's really difficult. Somebody said in, let me see, I have the book down here. Let me see if I can find it. In Amy Herzog's Ultimate Sweater book, let's see, for a yoke sweater. Let me look it up for the armhole depth. Yoke sweaters. $57 to $79. Okay. Let me see if she talks about the yoke depth. The yoke depth. I recommend figuring out your yoke stitch pattern before you attempt it to fill in the rest of your personal yoke schematic. This will give you a big leg up on the rest of your calculations. Once you have a stitch pattern identified, start with the armholes. Let's keep going. The yoke depth shouldn't ever be shorter than your body's armhole depth. They tend to be most comfortable to wear when they're in the neighborhood of your set-in sleeve armhole depth, up to 2 inches deeper. That's a really good answer. So I used my armhole depth, and she said you can use your armhole depth up to 2 inches deeper. Deeper than that, it's going to start hanging down here. So you can see, here's my yoke. Here's the top of my shoulder. Here's my yoke right here, and measure down to my armhole depth right here. And that's the bottom of my yoke. So then you lay it out and you can see how long your yoke's going to be. It's a tough area. That's a really tough area for me. And I've always had a real problem with trying to figure out where is the ideal area to measure, because the problem is you can't measure here because my yoke doesn't start here unless I'm doing a crew neck. If I'm doing a crew neck, then you could measure from here to your underarm. But my yoke is starting here, and I don't really know where it's going to exactly start on my body until I put it on. I have an idea, but I don't know exactly. And you can see that my yoke goes from here to here, but it's also the same as from here because this swings around here. It's a tough area. What you can do is make a mock-up. You can get some fabric, cut it out to the shape you think it should be, and put it on. You'll cut a big circle, cut a hole in the middle for your head, put it on, and see where it would come together under your arm minus 2 or 3 inches. The yoke doesn't go directly from this part of my arm to here. Here's the back yoke, here's the front yoke, and there's the inches in between. Okay? Okay. Deborah Cisneros, Suzanne, I used to work in a bookbinder replacing the inserts pages in the covers of the conveyor belt, and sometimes the inserts are in the stack upside down. That's what I figured. It's no big deal. It doesn't bother me. That's about the Cheryl Brunette's book being in upside down. Anu Ball question. My yoke pattern doesn't allow me to increase midway, so I had to do all the increases before the yoke pattern. I hope that's all right. Plus, I did short rows for neck shaping right after cast on. I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine, Anu. That's fine. Now, what I did in mine, I did a third of my increases here, the second third of my increases here, the third third I added them. You can see where it puckers a little bit in between here, but once that's blocked, that'll go away. I added them in this area right in here, not all in a row, but staggered, like some on each row going down like this till I got them all in. I added 3 in here, 3, 3, like that. Okay. Okay, any other questions? We did really good today. I'll be back on Sunday at 2 o'clock, and we'll have the pocket information out. Is anybody down in this part of their sweater yet? I think I'm kind of ahead of everybody as far as the instructions coming out, but that's okay. It's better to be ahead than behind. So this coming Friday, which is day after tomorrow, you're getting the rest of the pockets and the body down to the ribbing, but not including the ribbing. The next Friday, we'll get the ribbing and the sleeves. Yay! Okay. Anything else? I'll give you a minute. Anything else? I really enjoy talking with you all. Okay, I'm going to let you go. If you do have a question and I cut off already, just post it on the video afterwards. Oh, Champ Smith says, question, how many inches in your yoke pattern? From here to here. My whole yoke is from here to here is 9 inches. This is 4 1/4 inches from here to here. Okay, so I'll let you go. I'm going to be working on that zipper video this afternoon. I hope to get it done. And then the next one up is going to be the short rows at the back neck. And then I'll be going forward from there. So have a good afternoon. Happy knitting. And we'll see you all next time. Take care.